Welcome to another episode of the Search Off the Record, a podcast coming to you from the Google Search Relations team, discussing all things search and maybe having some fun along the way. My name is John, and I'm joined today by Lizzie and Gary, who are from the Search Relations team, of which I'm also a part of. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Search Status Dashboard. So Gary, you've been working on this for a while. Can you tell us a bit more?
Yes.
All right. And that was it for today's episode.
The shortest episode yet.
Well, maybe we should talk about this a little bit more. So can you tell us why we have this dashboard now, Gary? Is it because we just don't like posting things on Twitter or on our blog, or what is the reason for this dashboard?
Well, one of the reasons is that we promised it in 2019. So
we said that we would have a dashboard?
Well, we said that we would have a more structured and better communication channels for search incidents. So that was one of the motivations for the dashboard.
Mm.
Oh, cool. So there was a lot of outrage when this initially happened, or why did we say we were going to do more?
Well, there was a perception that we are not doing enough. So we kind of, both internally and externally, and then we kind of wanted to fix that because, I was told that we have to be nice. And we started communicating more about these incidents, first on Twitter, but that comes with some overhead because, one thing is that for me, logging into Twitter takes like half an hour, and by then the incident might be over.
Wow, they closed that fast?
Well, some incidents, yes. Or maybe I was just exaggerating,
Never heard of it.
Yeah. I can believe that.
Well, but the actual posting is not that long. It's actually coming up with the wording. That seemed to trip everyone up in previous times we've talked about this, is what should we say and how to say it and when to say it.
Yeah, that's the other thing, that on Twitter we were not using templates. So basically every time on the spot we came up with something, and then if someone was around, like John or you or someone, as in John Mueller.
Not the other John.
Not the other John. Then we would double check, basically a peer review, and then we would post if it looks good.
I mean, but it wasn't just a peer review thing. There are way more people involved for these big messages.
That also depended on the message.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just don't have time for that. So you were trying to rush it out because you already saw that things are burning and people are getting upset about it.
Mm-hmm.
So if the incident was just annoying and just wanted to let people know that we are looking into it, then we could have said that, I don't know, we are looking into some reports about indexing delays or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't necessarily need that many approvals. But I would be absolutely comfortable with just a sign off from John and just posting on Twitter. But if it was something more elaborate, something that is affecting more sites or something that's affecting search users, for those we definitely would have needed approvals from more teams, including the site reliability engineers, the SREs that we have,
mm-hmm.
because they need also to confirm the nature of the incident. Basically, we also want to be accurate with the reporting. And most of the time we can understand what's happening, but sometimes it's more obscure, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, because is it still useful if we just say something generic? There's an issue and we don't say anything more about it? Is that not helpful to people? So by giving what level of detail is appropriate and helpful?
I think that depends on the incident.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the incident is something that is going to go away in 5 minutes, we know it's going to be fixed in 5 minutes, then we might not even need to say anything. Because you also don't want to over-communicate things, because that would just fill up the feed with random, oh, we are looking into this, oh, we are looking into that, oh, we are looking into this, we are looking into that. it's kind of pointless.
It could also cause confusion.
Yes.
Like if it's not actionable for anybody to do anything, or like
Yeah.
it's not noticeable to you, like why would we like cause panic, or I don't know.
Yeah. And then we would check in with our SREs and confirm that it is actually an incident that we should communicate externally, which again takes time. So yeah, dashboard and the procedures that we defined for the dashboard kind of fix this.
So it makes things a little bit easier and more streamlined to talk about, I don't know, when something weird happens around search.
Yeah.
Would that also include things like my blog is not ranking anymore? It must be an error on Google's side.
John, your blog is not ranking for other reasons.
Oh, well, okay. That's not very helpful, Gary.
I'm not here to be helpful. Wait.
So I guess this would be more for bigger issues than like when your blog goes down in ranking.
Also, no. Spammyguy.com is not an important website, I think. But if many sites are affected, I don't want to make up a number, but lots of sites are affected by an incident, then that would trigger our procedures of externalization and potentially posting something on the dashboard.
So it's basically more of a way of letting people know that we're aware of an issue, we're working to resolve it. It's not something that the site itself needs to resolve. So
yes,
site owners don't really need to change anything. If they see something weird during this time, just be patient, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it should be like a little bit of a relief, like it's not anything you did wrong or that you need to fix if it's something that's wrong with our systems.
I think there will still be sites that will think that they are affected by an incident, but they are not.
Oh.
I mean, we see this with ranking updates, where a site goes down in rankings and then they blame the ranking update. But then when you actually look at the site, it's like they put up a no index on every single page, and that's why they disappeared from search.
Ouch.
So it's not like everyone is affected by an incident, unless we say so, of course, but probably a subset of sites. And then you have to make a judgment still. Like you as a site owner would have to make a judgment about whether you are affected by an incident or not.
Cool. So from a process point of view, we would get alerted by, I don't know, an internal team or external people around an issue. And then what happens there? We basically decide, is it a big issue or not? Or who makes that kind of a call?
I don't know how familiar the listeners are with SREs, like search site reliability engineers. They have, like, you can search for it on your favorite search engine, and they have, or at least the Google SREs have a mini site where they describe what they do and how they do it. So they set up these dashboards where they monitor system health, and they define thresholds in those dashboards. And if one metric, one signal passes that threshold, then it sends an email or pages the SREs or something happens. And we are subscribed to those alerts. So when something happens, then it ends up in our inbox. But of course, it's virtually impossible to create alerts for everything. So we are also looking on Twitter for clues about more widespread issues with search. Okay, that was a lie. We are just looking at Barry Schwartz's blog. No, okay, that was a joke. But we are looking on Twitter, and if we see that, let's say, more than 5 people post about a failure that seems to be related, then we would start investigating internally whether we have a failure or not. And the investigation can be John or me or whoever, or we ping the team that we think is responsible for the system that's potentially failing and ask them to look into it. So we basically have 2 sources where we source incidents from, and then make a judgment call about whether we should externalize or not.
And then you would, I don't know, hit a button and it adds an entry into the dashboard or something along those lines?
Sort of. So internally, we have we have an admin interface for the dashboard, and we have basically canned or templates that we can use for the messages.
Well, I mean, the idea is to be able to like move quickly when these
yeah.
things happen. So if it's already approved, then we can post without having to get approval because they signed off on the process and the messages that we want to say.
Sure. That was the less fun way to say it.
Sorry.
And then we can add some stuff to it, to the messages. Like, for example, if we want to say that one particular DNS provider is refusing Googlebot connections, then we could add that, switch DNS providers or whatever, and then it will suddenly work. Or, well, not DNS provider, name server provider, and then it would start working perhaps. But generally, it's just template messages that we put up and try to explain as briefly as possible what's going on and when will be the next update to the incident on the dashboard. Because that's the other thing. Like on Twitter, it was kind of weird to keep posting about the updates, because then you had to find the thread that you started and then you post an update and then maybe people will not notice it. Maybe they will. On the dashboard, it's very clear when we post an update, it will be very visible.
I think that was an issue in like the 2019 series of incidents where we would post something and then not set expectation for when you would hear back from us. So we're still looking into the thing. 3 days have gone by. People are like replying to the tweet like, what's happening? Like, why haven't you said anything? And we're like, we're still looking into it. Like, we don't have anything more to say. But yeah, so the idea with the 12 hours thing, that we will provide another update within a certain time period so you kind of know what to expect. And it might be the next update is like, we're still looking into it, but at least you know when you're going to hear from us.
Yeah.
Cool. So what kind of issues would you cover? I imagine it's more about technical issues in Google search, or is it crawling, indexing? I don't know. Would it also include ranking? Or I guess that might fall under serving, or how do you have that split up?
So we mapped the dashboard to the major search systems, which is crawling, indexing, serving, and the incidents would go into those buckets. So, for example, if for whatever reason Googlebot cannot crawl the whole internet, that would end up in the crawling bucket. If there's some canonicalization problem that's affecting lots of sites, then that would end up in the indexing bucket. And then if Google.com is not accessible to lots of users, then that would end up in the serving bucket.
But what happens when a dashboard goes down? Do you have a bucket for that?
Good question. It's extremely unlikely that the dashboard would go down. And I was geeking about this for a long time. Basically, I was looking at the serving system that's servicing the dashboard, or specifically its uptime. And it's been up constantly since 2006.
Like they have not had an incident like this whole time?
They had not had an incident since 2006.
Oh.
So if it went down, that would be a very different kind of problem for Google.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't see how it would go down. I guess then we would post on Twitter that, oops, our dashboard is actually down.
But maybe in that case, like Twitter is also down, or we're in some kind of apocalyptic scenario.
That would be cool.
Hey.
That's his line.
That's my line.
We can put posters up.
Flyers. So have they built it so that it's decoupled with Google.com? So if there's an incident on Google.com, then we can still post about it on various status dashboard places.
Yeah, all the dashboards that Google has, like Status Cloud, Google.com, and Status Search, Google.com, they are all decoupled from each other and from Google.com. Technically, if the DNS server went down, that would be the one point of failure. But like the Google DNS service is quite reliable. And usually the failures that we have, they are not related to DNS. They are related to the systems that are actually serving the content. And the serving system that we use for the dashboard, that's not the same that we use for google.com or most other services. And it's isolated. Like it is the same service that we use for, I think, serving the thumbnails on Google Images, but it is isolated from that part. It's a different instance.
And if something in Search Console were to break, which I think is also on search.google.com, would that be listed here? Would that affect the dashboard at all? Is there a connection there?
I thought Search Console has its own dashboard sort of thing, don't they?
They have a page that's talking about data anomalies within Search Console, but I don't know if they would post there if like Search Console is completely inaccessible, like if it's down for a period of time.
Okay.
But I guess that is considered an anomaly. Like you could not access the dashboard from like this date, because it's always like day to day. Like for 5 days, Search Console is like not, I don't know. I'm imagining a scenario like that. I don't know if that is a real scenario that they would post there.
Yeah, I don't remember them being down.
No.
But I guess usually they have more issues with regards to the various data pipelines that lead up into Search Console. And then, I don't know, the crawling report is delayed by a couple of days or something like that.
Right.
I only remember incidents like some users are experiencing 500 statuses or the API being down because reasons, but not complete Search Console outage.
Okay. And what if there's just one specific feature in search that is kind of broken? I don't know. Let's say the featured snippets are not showing anymore. Is that something that we would show here, or would this really be all of search is broken or no snippets are shown at all?
Good question. In this version, we are only focusing on major incidents affecting the systems that we mentioned, like crawling, indexing, serving. In a next iteration, we are thinking about exposing search features. So for example, top stories or feature snippets or whatever, if they would go down for whatever reason, then we might communicate something about those incidents. But in the current iteration, I don't think that we would externalize those issues.
Would that be if like top stories just stops appearing altogether, like a serving issue, or like certain sites saying like I'm not appearing as a top story, like there's a problem?
I mean, either, depending on how many sites are affected.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And like, I don't know, related services to search, like maybe Discover or Google News or Google Reader, if those went down, would that also be listed here? Or is this really focused on web search?
Did you say Google Reader?
He's checking if you're listening.
So sorry.
What year is this? So yeah, if Google Reader goes down, then I will definitely put that on the dashboard. Oh, wait. No, that would be yet another version. We know that some services want to appear on the dashboard, but we have to think about how to present other basically services. And I just didn't have either time or nerves to think about that just yet. Plus, I think it would be valuable to just launch V1 and then see how it goes, whether we can learn something from it, and then see if we can improve it by including other services.
Are there plans for translations, or is that already happening?
No.
No translation. It's just not supported.
It's like in the current setup, it's practically impossible to have translations. And they are not even thinking about it, mostly because they, as in like the developers of the dashboard, because the dashboard is kind of like a CMS that we share with other Google products or Alphabet products. And it is developed to be as simple as it needs to be to serve the dashboard itself and no complexity to it whatsoever. And translations would be major complexity, because then you have to load the different translations from different rows in the database that's serving the content. And I don't think that it's worth it to add the complexity for something like this. Basically, if you are using like Google Translate, for example, or any other online translation software, then that will give you enough clue about what's happening.
I think with this, it's also particularly time sensitive. So if there was a delay to translate the thing, then that language would be behind or not having the same timeline of events, which could be an issue. And then people might think like, oh, like, is this not affecting search in French or something because it's not been translated in French, or it didn't happen for like 3 days? Does that mean anything? When like, no, it just means that the translation is behind.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So what would you recommend for the average site owner? Should they keep this page open in their browser and just refresh it every couple of minutes?
To boost our numbers? No.
What?
So we are successful. We are having many page views to this dashboard. No, I mean, they can subscribe.
Are you going for promo? Or why do you need the numbers?
They could subscribe. There's a RSS feed functionality, so you don't need to refresh. You could get notified if you want to, if you're still using RSS.
Oh, like in Google Reader, you could add that. Cool.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay, maybe not Google Reader. I'm so sorry. I just today I noticed that the Twitter account for Google Reader was still alive and still had a blue check mark, and
Really?
it just brought back all kinds of memories. Yeah.
Aww.
I mean, they're not posting, so it's not that something is happening.
That would have been weird.
Cool. Okay, so subscribe with whatever your favorite RSS reader is, and you can stay up to date there. And I imagine folks on externally who are really curious will subscribe anyway and let the rest of the search world know if anything is posted there anyway.
Yeah. I was about to suggest you just have to follow Barry Schwartz and you're all set.
We are promoting him a lot in this episode.
I mean, Twitter, and especially a few particular users of Twitter, they are a very good source for noticing weirdnesses in search. And Barry specifically is a very good, very, very good source for bugs, like search bugs. And it's very valuable and nice.
So do you think for the first incident that we have, would we also publish on Twitter just to extra promote, like, this is what's happening in case people don't know?
I think so. I think the first one we would definitely post on Twitter as well, and basically just tell people that now we have this dashboard, we are going to post updates there. Goodbye, good talk. And that's it.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot. Really nice to have your insights, Gary and Lizzie.
You're welcome. Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Well, that's it for this episode. In the next episode of Search Off the Record, a podcast interview is coming about how the year was and what might be happening next year. So stay tuned for that. We've been having fun with these podcast episodes, and I hope you, the listener, have been finding them both entertaining and insightful as well. Feel free to drop me a note on Twitter or chat with us at one of the next events that we go to if you have any thoughts. And, of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you, and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Adieu.